Welcome to today's message, where we're going to explore 7 things to never do with men. As women, we often find ourselves navigating complex relationships with men, whether it's in our personal or professional lives. But sometimes, we can unintentionally sabotage these relationships or even put ourselves in harm's way. So, let's dive in and explore 7 things to never do with men. These are practical tips that can help you build healthier, more respectful relationships with men, and prioritize your own well-being and happiness. #1. Never chase a man. Chasing a man can be tempting, especially if we're interested in him. But chasing a man can come across as desperate or clingy, and it can actually push him away. Instead, focus on being confident and independent, and let him pursue you. Think about it like this. When you're chasing a man, you're essentially saying, "I need you to complete me." But when you're confident and independent, you're saying, "I'm already complete, and I'm looking for someone to share my life with." So, how can you avoid chasing a man? Here are a few tips. Focus on your own interests and hobbies. Spend time with friends and family. Prioritize self-care and self-love. Let him take the initiative in pursuing you. #2. Never try to change a man. We've all been there. We meet a guy, and we think, he's perfect, except for this one thing. But trying to change a man is a recipe for disaster. It's not our job to fix him, and it's not healthy for us to try. Instead, focus on finding someone who is already the kind of person you're looking for. Here are a few tips. Know what you're looking for in a partner. Don't settle for someone who doesn't meet your standards. Focus on building a relationship with someone who shares your values and interests. #3. Never ignore red flags. We've all ignored red flags at some point or another. Maybe we're attracted to someone, and we don't want to see the warning signs. But ignoring red flags can lead to serious consequences, from emotional abuse to physical harm. So, what are some common red flags to watch out for? Here are a few. Controlling behavior. Emotional manipulation. Disrespect or disdain for women. A history of abuse or violence. If you see any of these red flags, it's time to reevaluate the relationship and prioritize your own safety and well-being. #4. Never settle for less than you deserve. It's easy to settle for less than we deserve, especially if we're afraid of being alone. But settling for less than we deserve can lead to resentment and unhappiness. So, how can you avoid settling for less than you deserve? Here are a few tips. Know your worth and value as a woman. Don't be afraid to say no to someone who doesn't meet your standards. Focus on building a relationship with someone who treats you with respect and kindness. #5. Never use sex as a tool. Using sex as a tool to get what we want from men is a dangerous game. Not only can it lead to emotional damage, but it can also lead to physical harm. So, how can you avoid using sex as a tool? Here are a few tips. Prioritize communication and mutual respect in your relationships. Don't use sex as a way to manipulate or control someone. Focus on building a healthy and respectful relationship with someone who values you for who you are. #6. Never disrespect yourself. Disrespecting ourselves in our relationships with men can take many forms, from tolerating abuse to compromising our values. But disrespecting ourselves can have serious consequences for our self-esteem and our overall well-being. So, how can you avoid disrespecting yourself? Here are a few tips. Prioritize self-respect and self-care. Don't tolerate abuse or disrespect from someone. Focus on building a relationship with someone who values and respects you. #7. Never lose yourself. Finally, never lose yourself in a relationship with a man. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of a new relationship, but losing ourselves can lead to codependency and an unhealthy dynamic. So, how can you avoid losing yourself? Here are a few tips. Prioritize your own identity and interests. Don't give up your hobbies or passions for someone. Focus on building a healthy and respectful relationship with someone who values you for who you are. In conclusion, navigating relationships with men can be complex and challenging. But by avoiding these 7 common mistakes, we can build healthier, more respectful relationships with men and prioritize